But our first topic tonight, Fluffy Fingers MD, you're on deck. What do you got for us tonight, man? What's your topic?
Geez.
Yeah, right to you, man.
Pressure.
I figured it'd be a great lead in because we've had so much talk about this in the Discord that,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to copy and paste this actually to my notepad.
Yep.
My camera is very wide angle.
Okay. So my topic, so I really loved my time in Destiny, and I've made lifelong friends and done so many rad things because of this video game. But I just don't play it anymore. Like Rob said, like September, October was probably the last time I really was like, hey, I'm going to spend a couple hours doing this. So with the talk of Marathon, I was like, okay, I'm absolutely gonna be interested in something that Bungie makes that is PvP, because I loved Halo 1 multiplayer, like just play deathmatch like so much, and I love Call of Duty games, and I love Destiny PvP, and so I was like, cool, man, like besides Call of Duty, Bungie has a good history with PvP, so I'm like, Marathon's gonna be rad. And then I just hasn't pulled me in, like it isn't there for me. But I've been tracking like the news on it and everything, so the algorithm feeds me news, and I saw that our developer that kills it in the PvP region and just gun feel and gameplay and everything has been in trouble for the fourth time in a very short period of time for stealing art. And so I wanted to like look at just the problem and talk about it a little bit, because I think it's really easy to say like to blame Bungie without actually like talking about what's going on and what's causing this and why is this a Bungie thing and not an everywhere in the industry thing, you know?
Yeah.
And like people copyright art all the time. You know, there's third world countries that will take your creations off the internet and print the exact same t-shirt that you created, you know, or sell whatever, or just take art that you post and clone your post on Reddit or social media or whatever just for likes and clicks, right? So it's not like stealing art is new, but it's different when you steal someone's art and you're a giant corporation and you don't give the person any money or compensation for it. And especially it seems like, you know, at least with this last Marathon one, it was a pretty large aesthetic of what the game looked like. It wasn't like some previous ones where it's been like, okay, this thing you're releasing in the store or this small part of your expansion has art that obviously someone took from someone else, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, I guess to start, maybe just on a base level, before we get into this, like, how do you guys feel right now? Like, who do you blame personally for stealing this art? Do you blame Bungie right now? Or do you feel like it's more just they happen to hire some artists that steal art, and you know it's more the artist thing, and it's coincidence that this seems to be a Bungie problem recently?
I mean, which I'm in.
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, I'm trying to answer the question, but I don't know that I have an opinion. I don't even know that really ultimately matters, because the company needs to take the responsibility ultimately.
Yeah, well, that's very. I do believe
that's where I lean
too.
Whether it's a rogue person or not, right? Yeah. You put out the beta. Was it alpha? Was it the alpha that they closed beta? I'm not sure which they were actually calling it, and it became obvious within a weekend that this was clearly somebody's stolen art. And it's like, if it's obvious for folks there, you know, somebody needs to be aware of it. And if not, you know, aware of it, then somebody needs to actually go through and have a talk about this, because, like I said, it's not, like Fluffy said, it's not the first time, right?
Right.
You can't be an accident, and some of it was like second party things, like the Nerf thing was Nerf doing something. So when you say 4 times, right, it's not necessarily the same thing all 4 times, but it's enough that, like, after the first time, you need to be a little more vigilant about it, and they just choose not to be.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, oh, go ahead, Todd.
well, you asked what our initial. I'm just going to start off there. My initial thing is I basically shook my head and I just was like, not again. I mean, you think they would have gotten this fixed by now, at least have some control measures put in place. And I guess as I stand right now, I have questions. And you have questions, I imagine, Fluffy, so I'll let you continue.
So I think I agree with everyone I think we're all on the same page that regardless of who's at fault or why it happened, Bungie just needs to own up and make the situation right, because they're a giant company and it's their game that the stuff is on, right? And that's part of being an employer is owning up for whatever your employees do. You know, and I think there's a lot of other factors too that go into it, but I like that I like what you guys said with that. Okay, so then looking into Bungie itself, do you feel like it is a coincidence that this has happened 3 times, let's say 3 times recently with their games?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you think it is more of a industry thing, or potentially like an age thing, or a work ethic thing, or a laziness thing? Like, where do you guys stand on? I guess I don't know. We're just guessing here, but what do you guys feel like could maybe be going on here? Do you feel like it's a work environment thing, or do you feel like it's just other stuff?
Go ahead, Emerald.
I think it's a time thing. I think it's they have a date that they need to do, and they are trying to do a whole new aesthetic. So they bring in artists and stuff like Gunplay Field is a Bungie thing, right? They know how to do the art direction. They're going somewhere completely different than Halo or Destiny or anything like that. And I think people found assets that thought they would look cool and put it in there, and then nobody questioned it. And before you knew it, you were releasing stuff that was very clearly somebody else's stuff.
Yeah. And as we're talking through this more, kind of like what I said, but also for separate points, I don't know if we're going to get into higher level discussions tonight, but a lot of people are kind of agreeing that Bungie leadership in general has some major issues. So should a company this size, should they have already had, or do you only see this in the larger companies like the Ubisoft and the Activision? Maybe, but I still feel like a company this size should have had processes in place that review art every step along the way to make sure it's legit, things like that. So maybe it's cutting corners from higher up management, like, oh, well, we don't need to do full reviews, we don't need to check this, check that, regardless of the excuse of should they have. And I think I heard with the latest one, they are going to have a much more major process review management in place now, obviously. That's like the after the fact saying,
yeah.
But they probably should have had that already in place.
See, the questions I have. Go ahead, follow up with that question.
Just real quick on that, on a comment on that. Do you think it's even possible though to review if someone's stolen someone else's idea? Because like there's with digital art and the internet, there's like an infinite amount, well, not obviously not infinite, right? But and not within the realms of a human or a workforce that you want to employ to be able to check if it's stolen, right?
Yeah.
See, that was my question.
No, it's a good point. You can't always, but there's still, look, it wouldn't necessarily cut off every situation, but I just feel like something's happening where it's like, okay, do this real quick, and then maybe someone best case scenario, somewhat unknowingly did it. Like maybe they felt like they saw that somewhere, but their brain forgot it. I don't know. Probably not. Or worst case, they legit copied it. And maybe again, if there was just some kind of like review of like, well, your thoughts, tell us your thoughts of how and why you created this. And if they'd have to come up with a more written or verbal explanation of their basis behind it, then maybe something could have been found out along the way. Like, oh, you're bullshitting us, or, you know what I mean? Or I don't know. You're right. Yeah, there's not going to be perfect in every situation, but.
Yeah. And I guess even if you did like a screen grab or a screen record, so you could actually see the creation of the asset, if they're looking at an asset, they could still just create it. Like they're artists. Yeah. They learned by drawing and copying things that they see, right? Like that's how drawing works, is you look at stuff and you're like, oh, that looks cool. And you try and draw it, you know? I do think we only see the cases where it's a very clear plagiarism, because those are the only ones close enough to make wind and have lawyers involved and PR stuff, you know.
But
and maybe that's laziness out of the artist, right? Like they aren't smart enough to know to slightly change their plagiarism.
So, or they're just using AI to create their art, and the AI has learned off of all of the stuff that they love. Like, but you've taught me on this, so let me create this stuff for you. But this one is such a blatant like copy over, like straight rip from the artist's site that like I wouldn't even put that one on AI. That's just people being dickheads.
And if it was just AI, in a way, they wouldn't have been in as much trouble, but or any trouble potentially. But it still probably is something with processes and leadership and management, because you feel like, how could if it was just the employee that did it at first, so blazingly think like it would not be found out, A, and B, maybe they were just feeling pressured by management to get something done quick. So they're like, I have to do this. If shit hits the fan later, I'm going to take that chance. Hopefully it won't. But I needed to get it done real quick. So again, maybe if there was a better like review in place of like, okay, we don't have to have this game out in 3 years or whatever, you know, and then they can have more talking along the way, like, what were the ideas of how you came up with this, versus like, you need to have something tomorrow, and then they feel under the gun, and then they hope they won't get caught.
I think that's a totally separate major problem that accounts for most of the problems games have these days, is the idiots running it are allowing shareholders and deadlines not to be flexible, and the focus is on profits more than it is on quality. And if it was less about the game release date is this day and we're meeting it no matter what, and it was more about, we hope to release it now, it's not ready yet, sorry, we aren't going to release it till it's ready, then you probably do get a lot less of everything, including people blatantly stealing art.
And one last thing, and I'll let Todd explain, but it goes very perfect to what you just said. Did you also see the supposed story that a lot of this probably is the fault of being bought out by Sony, because supposedly Sony said that people aren't getting their golden buyouts and their stock options unless Marathon comes out by sometime in 2026. Right. So that's probably why they had the fall 2025 deadline. And that sucks when you have leadership that says that, because then these things are more likely to happen, because of course top Bungie wants to have their stock options. So that's why we're kind of under a deadline right now.
See, I mean,
okay, go. Sorry, Todd.
Sorry, I'm trying to let you guys talk. My ADHD is like, all right, remember this now. Remember this one. Just to get this straight, from what I heard from Bungie, is that this was an artist that's no longer there. They put it on a inspiration board or an inspiration file or something. And my guess is they just didn't catch it, because I think Bungie has so many people moving in and out of the studio I may be wrong, but I mean, gaming studios are very fluid these days, and especially Bungie, man, they've had some ups and downs, and don't get me wrong, I'm not an apologist. I'm not defending Bungie here, because it's stupid how this happened. It's embarrassing. And you could see the director of the game in that last live stream, you could see it in his eyes. He was just like frustrated. He's trying to get this game launched. He's trying to get it going. And then this black guy comes in. But how do you verify art? I mean, when we make t-shirts, I'll give my daughter some pictures, some Destiny pictures of my Guardian and stuff, and she will literally get a digital board and draw it, because she's an artist. She'll sit there and draw it. But how do you actually verify that art that was in that, that inspiration board from the artist is not even there anymore? How do you verify that stuff? Is there a certain program or something where you can run an image through? Because my God, AI is everywhere now. And you, just like I think JD Kent said, AI is ripping stuff off all the time right now. So how do you actually verify it? Because I don't know what their process is. I'm sure they got a process now, but I really think this was just really, the timing was just so bad for Marathon. So what do you think, Fluffy?
Hi, my name is Fluffy. I would like to say some things.
Okay.
Okay, looping back to bonuses, like the story about bonuses, and it has to come out by a certain time. I have two takes on this. I think I am okay with the idea that your bonus, not your compensation, but that is above and beyond your agreed upon compensation, is tied to a release or a deadline. I don't think that is a bad thing. I think that is a business thing. You're getting extra money for doing either meeting expectations or exceeding expectations, right? That's the point of a bonus. Like, we're going to pay all of our employees the same. Our employees that do a great job get more money. Our employees that don't do a great job get the agreed upon money. I understand that. With that being said, if your goal is having the best product or customer experience, bonuses and deadlines both should have flexibility, because your goal is not the deadline. Your goal is the product or the customer experience. And so you should be smart enough to have flexibility to understand what the goal is, and then move that goalpost with, this is the new deadline. If we meet this, then the bonuses are tied to this deadline, because we understand that these, like, you obviously have to have the right circumstances, right? It isn't like we aren't meeting the deadline because people are incompetent. It's, we're not meeting the deadline because either the ask was not correct or we didn't have an understanding of the work. And if that is your case, or if unforeseen circumstances or bugs come up, then, like, be flexible with it.
Yeah. Be awesome if public companies didn't exist and have to do quarterly, board meetings and earnings reports.
But, like, loyalty has a value. Like, looking at the short term should also include looking at the long term. And, like, loyalty in your customer base is going to happen if you have a good customer experience and a good product. I mean, it's what kept Destiny alive for over a decade. But when you don't have that, then and you're only looking at quarterly profits, then I don't know, man. You lose that experience, you lose that product, you know?
Yeah. Yep.
It's true, but loyalty doesn't pay the dividends.
Well, we know recently that Sony pulled all marketing plans for Marathon. It hasn't been officially announced yet, but I smell delay coming. Hopefully not the C word, the cancellation. I'm hoping it's not that, because I would be irritated, because half the studio has invested all their time into this game that they could have spent making some awesome Destiny 3 game, you know? And I'm irritated if Sony pulls the plug on this. I'm going to be irritated, because such a poor use of capital and, talent, and to put everything into this game and then Bungie and then Sony gets scared and just say, no, we're not having another Concord moment. We're just going to cut this game before we even release it. That would be such a shame. So I mentioned a couple weeks ago that they need to create more of a PvE element in this game. I'm not getting off topic here. I'm just justifying why they should delay it. They need to make more of a PvE centric part of this game and not just a PvP extraction shooter, because you're only appealing to a tiny little percent of the game community. And I think if they do delay the game, that's what they need to integrate. And they have no hook. There's nothing that I saw in the alpha that said, oh man, that is awesome. Now, Arc Raiders, I watched that game and I was excited. I was watching that game. I was like, this looks like fun, man. Look at this interface, and you're collecting these weapons. You're getting this bounty done. Okay, quest, whatever you want to call it. And you get this super, really, really strong shotgun that you can mod out. That I started really getting into it, but with the alpha stream on Marathon, and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to shit on the game. I know there's a lot of people that have played the alpha in our community who love the game. And I just think they need to let it cook more. They need to create a hook, and they need to have some kind of PvE element where people can practice to play the extraction shooter part of the game. Yeah,
but Todd, they can't add PvE with a normal delay. It would need like a full reboot, another year or two.
But here's the thing, Kingsley. Arc Raiders was initially a PvE only game, and they changed it over the years to more of a PvP extraction.
I know. And it took several more years.
Yeah.
But there's no way like a 6-month delay is going to be able to add this PvE element in. So if they add this in, it needs to be a reboot. It needs to be another year or two development process.
I agree. It needs to be probably 2026, the end of 2026, instead of this summer. I just don't see it happening this summer.
But what if the shareholders just say it has to be done in 6 months?
Well,
then they'll just ship it like they do every other game in the industry.
You guys are
gonna.
So everybody in this whole show is going to hate me by the show.
Really, how things work.
Yeah, I know.
And my thought is, I didn't necessarily love watching people play it, but
I heard it was fun.
On the flip side, everybody from Lulu and Fallout on the streamer side to Hammer Crasher in the Discords, everyone said it was really fun to play. Like when they were in there playing it, so. I don't know.
Yeah.
Not every game has to be for every person, and I know there's some level of, oh man, Bungie made a game, why am I not playing it?
Right.
Like FOMO action, but it could also just not be for you. And
that's very true.
That's totally okay too.
Kingsley keeps drilling that in my head. It may not be for you, man. Maybe it's not your game.
Yeah.
That's very true.
And even you, Fluffy, like it was always an extraction shooter. It was never supposed to be like a Halo type game,
Yeah.
No, but I like PvP in general. Like if I'm playing with friends, like I'll absolutely play Warzone. I'll absolutely play Fortnite. I want to play PvP with friends. So I don't care if it's like Rivals or if it's Call of Duty or, when I was playing Destiny for 15 years or however long I was playing Destiny,
how longer than me?
No. I was a Taken King baby.
Oh, that's Kingsley. Taken Tot.
Yeah. Oh, but was it really? I came in November, so I wasn't in a September release Taken King.
But I still think bigger picture, because I'm always good at looking at bigger picture. Mm-hmm. I don't know that they should have made this game as a type of extraction shooter to get enough people interested in the general market.
I think they got sucked into trends. They were trend chasing. I think they got sucked into it.
If you're asking me, when they were trimming all of the things that were Destiny, including mobile games and art and all the other stuff that they already threw away when they laid off like 900 or 1,000 people, they had a Destiny PvP only game that they were making.
Yes.
They could have scrapped Marathon and leaned into that, which is what people have been asking for. They were, because I think like if you go to other style games, they're releasing new maps and new characters or abilities or guns or whatever is unique to that type of shooter quarterly at the longest. Some games monthly or bi-monthly are releasing new content, and so like people love playing Destiny Crucible. They just need more than 6 maps in 8 years.
Don't get me started. I will go down that hill. Let's keep this in mind, though. Let's keep this in mind, though. This is
4 hours later.
This is, yeah, exactly. This is the one thing that I think maybe we have not talked about yet as far as Marathon. The management team, top brass that was in place when they decided to make this game and they were impressed by these other extraction shooters is no longer there. So now I can't remember the gentleman who's the game director now for Marathon. I apologize. I can't remember his name, but he had to come in and keep the boat floating and carry on with it. And that's when they decided not to go with a character-based system. They got away from all the, where you could create your own character. You can add whatever, they simplified the game a lot versus what I was expecting to see with that first trailer they put out, with all the great gear they had on and stuff. So keep in mind that probably a lot of the top management that really wanted to make this game happen probably aren't there anymore. So we have what's left. People had to step in and make this game what it is. And unfortunately, I just don't feel good about it. I'll just leave it at that. Any other comments?
So really, really reeling it back to the subject, do you guys feel that Bungie has adequately compensated the artists that the art was taken from in Marathon?
They better.
Have they done their part as a company to make things right at this point?
Do we even know? Did they announce anything, what they were doing, or?
They mentioned that they were going to give him credit, and I don't know that I never heard anything about money, but
yeah. I thought it was vague, is what I thought. But
very corporate answer.
Yeah, the thing that I had seen was that the artist didn't have the money laying around to go after him legally. I mean, Bungie is probably going to do some. They've tried to do stuff with the previous situations where this has happened, but I haven't seen anything actually saying that they've compensated properly.
I bet they'll give them.
Didn't.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I bet they'll give him something like $100,000 and try to call that good or something. I don't know.
I wouldn't say that much. I mean, I'm thinking 10 or 15 grand.
That'd be dope if they did $100,000. I don't think when this happened before, they did not come out and say that they were going to compensate the artist until the public had been, or the community had been making a really big deal about it. And it was weeks before they came out and they said, "Oh, we're totally giving them money." Yeah, that was always our plan, guys. So yeah.
I don't know what's going on here. Really.
I would hope the artist still. I'm sure he had to. Yeah, exactly. Any just JD can't beat me to it. Any settlement is probably going to have an NDA attached to it, so we'll probably never know. And I would say for the artist. For the artist, they would probably want to keep everybody stay tuned and social media that he told everybody about, but he's probably under an NDA now. He probably had to sign that in order to get some kind of compensation. Yeah.
See, but that's messed up because we stole your art, sign this NDA.
If you want to get credit and paid, they'll probably say something like, this is standard, or lawyer probably say this is standard, standard operating procedure.
It's one thing if you're willingly going into a situation with the company and you sign an NDA. If they hire you for a job and they want to do an NDA, that's cool.
Right.
But being we stole your shit, sign this NDA, that's not taking ownership.
I can bet that even though the person didn't have the money or ability to do legal proceedings, I bet someone would be willing to represent them for free now because it's a big story now. So, maybe they will.
I did want to say, I went and looked because I was pretty sure, but confirmed the artist was a woman. So she didn't have the money to do it. And it was her artwork that was stolen. So
yes.
Just going through, making sure we get that right. But,
Yeah.
Wait, women can do art?
Duh. Who doesn't like
Just at least the 1860s.
I feel very embarrassed, guys. I need 5 minutes to go talk to my daughters. I have been wrong this whole time.
Hey, who drew this art? I want to know who drew this art.
Georgia O'Keeffe? Nope, not enough vaginas. It's not Georgia O'Keeffe.
My entire wall is my daughter's art.
That's awesome.
projects over
Yeah.
the years. So
my daughter's an artist
sorry,
too.
jokes aside, I
gotcha.
had to give Nips a hard time because he was trying to be
Okay.
correct, and it's my job to anti that.